Hello everyone, it's me, Vegenstar, and welcome to part 4 of my low poly PS1 style Ceruledge tutorial. Now in this part, we will be working on the modular expressions for our character. So, let's go ahead and pull this, turn this into rendering mode. Now, for this tutorial, I have already gone through the liberty of removing the character's face, so we can add that with the modular expressions. Now, if you simply want to have your character's face textured on and you don't really need or want them to change their expressions, then you don't need to follow this tutorial. The last tutorial is perfectly fine for doing that. But if you do want the modular expressions, basically what it is it's essentially what I refer to as modular expressions are basically like different eye and mouth options that can be combined like puzzle pieces to create various different expressions. So, starting out, let's grab our model. Let's go into Object Data Properties, UV Maps, change this into Base. Add another one, call this one Mouth. Now we want to pull up our UVs, tab into Edit Mode, grab these UVs for our face, unwrap, kind of flip these over so they're sitting like that. We can just draw in the mouth, grab all these other ones and make sure we're on the mouth layer, hit S, and then 0 to shrink it down like that, then just drag it off like that, then pull these back into here, pull that down, and export this out as Ceruledge mouth text. Now, let's go ahead and go back onto base, hit the plus sign again, call this one eyes, and select our eye UVs, drag those off to the side. Once again, turn on X-ray so we can quickly grab everything. Grab the whole UV map, hit S for scale, and then 0, drag that off like that. Grab those, drag them in, scale them up. Like that. And put it in. Okay. Now, export UV layout as Ceruledge eyes text. Deselect that. Tab out of edit mode. Save this. Go into our art program. Load up the UV maps, and let's start with the map. First, let's name the UV layer UVs. Then we'll have a neutral. And a neutral open mouth. Now, of course, this system is basically infinitely scalable, so you can make as many mouths and eyes and whatever as you want. However, for the sake of keeping this tutorial brief and simple as possible, I will only make 2 eyes and 2 mouths. Okay, now let's add our lips. And for the teeth color, I would recommend, rather than using pure white, I would recommend using a color that is slightly off-white. So then that way it still reads as being white, while you will have the ability to shade and add highlights to it. One thing I would recommend for making your lips look nice and juicy, add some harsh highlight to the edges and even a little bit to areas like this. Like that. Save this as a file type that can preserve layers. Okay, now save out the mouths at Ceruledge mouth text 0 and Ceruledge mouth text 1. Now you want to save the first one out as 0 because Blender essentially recognizes 0 as being the first one. So if you start numbering them with 1, Blender will think that the first one is missing. Alright. Now let's move on to the eyes. Name that UVs. And we will sketch out the eyes right here. Baseline off of the sketch, off of the texture that I made for this character. Okay, once you have the sketch done, save that out, and then return to Blender, change editor type to shader editor. Shift D to duplicate this. Open up your mouth texture, change frames to 1, check auto refresh, grab your eye sketch texture. Okay, go to input, grab this UV map node, duplicate it for each of your texture nodes. For the eye, select eyes and connect the UV to vector. For the base texture, select the base and connect the UV to vector. For the mouth, select mouth and connect the UV to vector. Now go into color, mix RGB, connect the mouth into color 2 and alpha into the factor. And now your mouth is visible on the face. Now let's drag this back. Add this right here. Duplicate this. Now add the color from the eyes into the color 2 and the alpha into the factor. Okay, and that looks pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and draw on. So let's go ahead and draw on our eyes. So create 2 folders. First one will be neutral. The next one will be neutral closed. So in neutral, create a new layer, call this eye lines. And draw out your eyes. Okay. Next, let's add sclera. Well, first, so okay. To make sure I'm not missing any gaps in the texture. Get back to the right color. Whoops. Similar to the teeth, I would recommend using an off-white color for the sclera so that way you can add highlights and shade to it. And now let's make the iris. Now if you don't want or need your character to be able to move like their iris around and look around, then just draw however much of the iris you want to be visible. But if you do want them to be able to look around, make sure to draw the whole iris. Now let's add a little light to the eye. And let's add the shading. Okay, now for the closed eye, add a layer to neutral closed. We only need the eye lines for the closed eye. And then start out with line across the eye, and then draw on the eyelashes. And just draw the eyebrow the same place where it was when the eye was open. Okay, and one thing about the closed eye is try to make sure that it's the same length as the open eye. And I usually like to put the eyelashes going in the same direction they were going when the eye was open, but that's an entirely stylistic choice. And another thing is, like, also try to have the eye somewhere around the middle of the line around the middle of the eye, since when you close your eyes, both your upper and lower eyelids move to beat each other. And so now, let's go ahead and add some shading onto this. Okay, now save this as a format that preserves layers. Now, if you simply want to have the expressions only and you don't want the iris to move around, all you have to do is save it out the same way that you save the mouth, as itext1, as itext0, and itext1. And again, make sure to remember that it's itext0 first. Put 0 first because Blender recognizes 0 as being the first one. Make sure to set frames to 1, turn on auto refresh, and there you go. Now, if you do want the iris to move, first thing you need to do is save out the iris as its own texture. So call it iris text. You don't need to add a 0 or a 1 or anything like that unless you plan on making multiple iris textures. Okay, next, save out the eye without the iris and save that as the itext0. Now save out the eye without the sclera and save that as eye mask text 0. And now save out another copy of your closed eye as eyes masked as eyes mask text 1. Now I will show you how to set up the cursed lasagna that is the movable iris setup. Don't worry, you only have to set it up once, and once it works, it works. Okay, so go ahead, pull the eyes text up here, duplicate that, and have your eyes UV selected, duplicate that, call it iris. Hi guys, one quick thing that I forgot real quick is that when you make the UV map for the eyes, you need to flip one of the, for the iris, you need to flip one of these so that both of the irises will move in the same direction rather than opposite directions. So let's go ahead and tab into edit mode, go to UV editor, go to face select, just select one of these, grab the whole thing, then just pull it across like that, and I just resize it to -1 on the x-axis, and then drag it a little bit. Okay, now we can tab out of edit mode, and like, I don't, like, this is a little bit of a glitch that it does sometimes, like, usually if you fiddle a lot around with Blender, like, save it and reload it, edit, mess around with the expression textures, it'll usually stop doing that. Like, if it's, like, if you haven't set up the rigging yet, usually you can just mess around with the offset for the eye textures, and it'll stop. There we go. Yeah, and going out of UV editor also seems to help make it not do that. Now, again, I have no idea why Blender does that, but it does, and it's annoying. So, like, if you all have any issues with that, don't hesitate to leave a comment, and I'll definitely take a look at it and see if I can help you. Okay, so with that done, let's go ahead and take it back to Fake Star of the Past. Change this iris, put in your iris text, and pull this to the side. Your iris goes into color 2, and the iris alpha goes into the factor. Duplicate this. Open up your eye mask textures. Make sure to set frames 1. Put that in color 1, and that one in color 2. Set the mask to the factor. Then you can grab your base texture and mouth setup. That works just fine. Duplicate this one more time. Set the base and mouth texture to color 1, and the eyes to color 2. And then grab this alpha from the first eye texture, drag it all the way over here, and plug that into the factor. And there you go. And that should work. Check it. Being difficult as usual. And all it needed was for me to save it and then open it again, because that was actually the previous texture that was loaded up in Blender. See, the setup works just fine. It's just that, I don't know, I guess I'm just tired and I forgot that in order to reload textures that were already loaded up in Blender, like, you know, if you update a texture, you need to reload Blender in order for Blender to show the updated version of the texture. But anyway, that does it for this tutorial. In the next part, we will be rigging this character. So thank you so very much for watching this, especially if you watched it to the end. And that's all for now. Have a nice day.